Hi, welcome to another episode of Charlene's Vision. Today we're going to be talking about some hot topics. First, we're going to be talking about becoming an HR consultant and what are the steps, or either any type of consultant. The same thing applies for that. The second we're going to talk about is the characteristics of a great CEO. And the third would be diversity, equality, and inclusion. Are you ready to dive in? Great. So let's talk about a consultant, HR consultant. What is basically you need? You need to lay the groundwork, right? After that, you need to build a client base. Then you would like to carve your niche. Then you would want to take a step back and assess their motivation. And then you also want to make a online presence. And then the last is that you would like to do is see if you can find a mentor, okay? So let's just talk about laying the groundwork. The groundwork for a consultant would be just definitely creating your LLC and your sales tax. You want to do that. The next is building your website. Now that's important, building your website. There's many ways you can go about building your website. You can actually have someone do it for you, which can cost about $10,000 to $20,000, or you can actually do it yourself. Me, when I created my business of Natural Essence Chirac, I said, let me just see if I can create it myself. I was kind of computer savvy, so I said, let me just definitely try to do it myself. Now, normally you'll get some type of resources, like when you go to one of the host companies, that you definitely need a host to host your website, right? So when I did Bluehost gave me some great resources. They were kind of inexpensive. It didn't cost that much. It was a monthly fee. So you usually want to just spend some time definitely building your website. And it was pretty great. The cost is around $150, maybe even more now, but that was a good price. And one good thing about it is that you don't have to continue paying that monthly fee. Once your website is up, you don't have to pay anymore, right? Because you have your website. And one great thing about it is they don't do it for you. They actually teach you how to do it yourself. So if something happens, you have that skill to definitely do your website and create and do whatever you need to do to fix it. That's one of the great things. And if something happens where you need to call them back up again, you can just restart and just call them back up if you need them for a month, or you can need them for longer than that. That'd be awesome. So that's one great thing that you definitely need to do. Definitely, you need to do a corporate bank, right? You want to make sure that everything is deposited in a corporate bank. And the last thing you definitely would like to do is that you want to definitely create an emergency fund. Now, the emergency fund is definitely needed, because you have your company at risk if you don't. You know what happened now, right? The COVID. So you definitely want to have a emergency fund, and they usually say an emergency fund should have at least 6 months. But now it could be even more months than that. You want definitely have, but 6 months it should be that. So that's definitely laying the groundwork. The next thing you want to do, you want to build a client base. Right? So this is where you're going to spend a lot of your time building the client base, because if you want to be a consultant, definitely you've been doing the field, you have your core competencies, right? So if you're with an employer, you can speak to your employer and you can just let them know, hey, I am interested of being a consultant. And they could be your first client, which is great. Now, a lot of employers like outsourcing, right? So because there's a lot of advantages they have. Definitely the benefit. You don't have to worry about benefits. Now remember, with benefits, you pay 20%, but the company pays 80% of your benefits. Yes. And that can be very expensive. So they can cut that cost as well. And there's also management-based, supervised, limited you can have, because definitely usually you gotta have a supervisor, right? So if you're outsourcing, they don't need the supervisor, so they take up free space and they can move that to developing more of the strategy that they want. So that's pretty good for that. and they don't have to worry because they know you, they trust you, you've been working for them maybe for years. So it's an advantage for them and it's an advantage for you. You have your first client, then you can just use references for more clients. You definitely want to network as well. Networking is very important in definitely gaining more clients. And that would be great. So that's what you definitely need. Next, you want to definitely, you can either carve out that what your niche is. Now, usually in HR, I'm gonna use HR because I'm in HR. It has the benefits, it has the recruiting, and it has all other parts of the HR. Sometimes when you work with a company, they want someone that has the whole package, right? So you really want to focus on, do you want to do the whole package or do you want to just focus on the benefit piece of it or certain pieces of the HR functions? That'd be great. So you would definitely want to go over that. The next thing, you would like to take a step back and assess your motivation. Your motivation is really important because you have to think about this. It's not something that's just going to be for a week or 2 weeks. It's going to be something that's going to be long, right? So you want to just make sure why you want to do it. Sometimes people want to do it because they were laid off. Sometimes you have that work-life balance. The work-life balance is important to some people that have a family and they have little kids. One thing about working as a consultant, you can definitely, create your own schedule, right? You can work at night while the kids are in bed, or you can work at any time if you need to run out. As long as you're productive and effective with your work, you can definitely do that, and that'd be great. So always take a step back and find out why do you really want to do consultant work or what you want to do. The next thing that you would like to do is definitely have a mentor. A mentor is very important. Me, I have a mentor as well, and they have so many resources. They've been in the business. They can actually give you additional clients as well. So you want to make sure you have a mentor, and there's definitely a lot of mentors out there. One good thing about mentors are they free, and they're there to support you. So you would like to definitely try to have a mentor. So that's, in a nutshell, really quick to just talk about being a HR consultant. The next thing we're going to dive into is like the characteristics of being a CEO, right? So everyone wants to have a business, however, you want to be a CEO in the business. So that takes resilience, and not just resilience and motivation. It takes passion, all of that wrapped up, not just for 1 week, or it needs to have to happen for at least a decade. Because sometimes, even me, my motivation is up some days, my motivation is down some days. No, but you have to have that motivation that lasts for decades. So that's definitely what you need to have to be a CEO. Definitely, there's a lot of things you need. You definitely need to have a structure. You need to have a critical, strategic mindset. You need to have business intelligence. You need to have emotional intelligence. All of that applies in being a CEO. You need to definitely have a architect, like a structure of definitely having a system, structure, and processes, and definitely have important intelligent results and definitely execution. Those are the CEO characteristics. Definitely you need to have something where it's going to be a passion player. You need to know definitely having a great team and listening to your team. You need to have a great listener. Now, I definitely have some great CEOs in my time that I feel that they are definitely great. They definitely listen to you. They definitely want you to be a part of the team. So those are all definitely another good characteristics that you need to have. You definitely need to have a good team as well. Now, the other thing you need to have is a relationship marvin. A relationship marvin is that you can go anywhere and people like you, right? So that's definitely great. Now, for leaders, there's type of leader types. There's something that's called leaders. One thing they do, they have power. Let's talk about a little bit of the powers. We have the coercive power. Everybody know what the coercive power is, right? The coercive power, if you're doing something, but it's more like a punishment. You don't want that type of power. But some people do use that type of power. You have the legitimate power. The legitimate power is that you have the power to either have someone, discipline someone, right? You can either fire someone. You can, even in like, for school settings, you have the power to give someone a good grade. You have the power to give someone a bad grade. So that legitimate power, people do have, and they use that as well. There's the reward power. You have rewards. You give rewards to your employees. That's a power that people use, which is great. It's, people like rewards. Then we have a reference power. What is the reference power? Usually people like Oprah has reference power. We don't know her, but she has power. She might say, oh, go buy this book or go get this. And how many people run and go get it? They don't even know her, but you know what? They trust her. They believe in her. So they do normally what people like that say. A lot of fashion people out there, a lot of artists, if they say something, that's why they are in the commercials, right? Because some people, not everyone, but some people listen to them because they definitely have their trust. The next power I'm going to talk about is the expert power, right? So with the expert power that people have is someone like a doctor. You go to the doctor, something is wrong, you ask for their advice. Then you have the lawyer's power, the lawyer. So if something, you go to the lawyer. So that's all the powers that people have and they carry. So those are good powers to have. So CEOs usually use that and manipulate those as well in good ways. Those are good powers. Now, one thing I want to talk about is someone that actually is a good CEO. Tim Cook. He works for the Apple, right? He has something that's called a democratic power. He used democratic, and that's something I like. I do love a democratic because what democrats they do, they listen to their people. Now they listen to their people and they actually take their advice and they trust them. So that power is a great power to have, and to have a democratic and have something. So he worked for Apple, and I always follow him. And for you to be a CEO, you always need to probably try to look at magazines, read about great CEOs. You want to watch videos. You want to definitely read some great books, because leaders create other good leaders. And those are the great leaders to have. The next thing I would like to talk about is the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, what is diversity, right? It's the difference and having an understanding of other people, right? You don't have to agree, but just have a great understanding of others and respect others as well. Now, for diversity, there are 4 layers of diversity. Let's go over the 4 layers. Do you know what the 4 layers are? Personality, right? Everyone has a personality. So the personality is something, people have. It's the way they dress, it's the way they wear their hair, it's the way they talk, it's the way they walk. It's definitely their personality that they have. The second thing is the internal, right? Now, the internal is a little bit more difficult. It's very limited. It's something that is really hard to change, like your age. I wish I could change my age, right, and be younger. But it's something that's definitely your skin color. You can't change that. And it's something like maybe your gender as well. So diversity is something that definitely internal that you cannot change. Now there's the external. The external, yes, you can definitely do that. Your career, what you want to do in life, your marital status. Do you want to be single? Where you want to live? What you want, and all of that is definitely the internal. Then there's the organizational. The organizational is more of the characteristics of the job. also like the union affiliation, stuff like that would be the organizational. Now those are the diversity 4 layers. Now diversity is definitely becoming really, really big. Even Joe Biden, our president, actually signed off in June 25th, 2021, that he's trying to strengthen and encourage companies and the government to be more diverse. And this is just to help everyone to be more accepting people with disabilities, accepting people with the L, it's accepting everyone, and accepting people like people in conservation. So people like that is definitely have, so we would like to have people loved with all nationalities and all colors. So basically, everyone would like to be seen, and a lot of organizations out there is like, okay, how can we start this diversity? And we call it DEI process. A lot of wants to definitely have those harsh conversations, and that would be something that companies would like to start, right? But me, I believe in something my mother always said, that experience is the best teacher, right? So if someone actually felt something, and there's a lot of people out there that, and a lot of companies out there that they do all of these education skills for diversity. For instance, let's say like Jane Elliott, that diversity educator. It was awesome what she did. And people are still using that today. And we can do that inside of their organization. I know organizations did it by cell phone, who has an iPhone versus who has an Android. And just those ones, so those would go into a different, and they would just do the diversity, and it'd be almost like the same concept of Jane Elliott. And those are great because people are like, wow, I can't believe this. This is great. And they can feel that animosity. They can feel like, okay, one day they're on the good side, the next day they're not on the good. But those are things that everyone that needs to really just try to at least say, let me just feel how they feel. And talking is good, and some people, you talk and it's like, okay. But at the end of the day, it's over. And but what you feel is like, it can stay with you a little longer because you're like, wow. And then when you look at someone else, you can say, this is how maybe they feel. So diversity and inclusion is very, very important. Now, if you have any questions about any of this, you always can contact me. My name is Charlene, and then this is Charlene's Vision. My email address here is at charleneswinton@gmail.com. The next thing I would like to talk about is that when you're dealing with diversity, you're dealing with everyone, the whole world, right? You're not really just dealing with just your organization. You're dealing with people outside of your organization. You're dealing with people in different cultures. Now, I took the next following step. I actually went to Spain. I went to Costa Rica, and I actually learned another language. Learning what they do every day it blew my mind. So when I went to Costa Rica, I actually, instead of just renting a hotel, I actually lived in someone's house. And every day I just learned something new. And their culture is just amazing. And it made me feel more grateful, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I really am grateful for what I have, because they don't really have what we have. I mean, this house that I went to. So when I went in, of course, it was burning hot, and it's like they do not have an air conditioner. And I really didn't want to ask why they don't have an air conditioner. I don't really know, but I know they did not have an air conditioner. It was just a fan blowing, and it was just burning hot. And I was like, oh my goodness, how can they live like this? This is something that I really was uncomfortable with. But then I started to definitely appreciate them a lot more. And same thing when I went to Spain, it's like just to learn the language, just learning the culture, and the way they live is just, it was different, but it was something that I gathered, and it was like something that I really understood. So me just learning other cultures, it makes me feel more better for just saying that I do like the people out there, and I do understand, and I do have a lot of empathy, intelligence when it comes to others. So usually when something happens, I get that. For instance, when someone is actually getting up late, some of them work 7 days a week, and I'm like, I don't even want to work 5 days a week. But it seems like they don't have a choice, and it's like the rate that they get paid. I went to Mexico, and the guy told me that he only gets like $10 a day. That's something that I could not understand. I'm like, how can you get $10 a day? That don't make sense. But he gets $10 a day. So that's what he was getting for his pay rate. And then I said, so to him, I said, so what day are you off? And he says, what do you mean, what day I'm off? I'm off no days. I'm like, but you gotta be off like one day, right? He said, no, I'm not off any days. So I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yes, I'm serious. So it's just amazing that, you know, I work Monday through Friday from like 9 to 5, right? And we have people out there that don't work 9 to 5. They don't have a day off. So that is something that is definitely interesting. And when you go places, I always would like to meet other people. I always like to ask them questions, because I like people. And that's why I guess I'm in HR, right? Because I like people. I like learning everything about other people. I think people are amazing. We are different, and that definitely makes us amazing. So I just want to say thank you again for watching my show. I do appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please feel free and reach out. Welcome to another Charlene's Vision.